your return on investment on the $20 and you made 10,000, the return on the investment was 49,900%.
Good night.
How is it possible to turn $20 into $10,000 in only 16 days? Well, I have my man Ken here from Ohio that's going to share how he found this deal driving for dollars. So if you want to hear him share his story, well, you know what you need to do is simply stand by. Let's get it.
Text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. TikTok, you don't stop. I will help you make your paper stack. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at now? 205-964-52439. Yep. 205-964-52439. You know.
Hello, guys. This is Ty, aka the Flip Man, and today we have my man Kenneth out of Springfield, Ohio, and he's here to share his journey on this. This is your first deal, right?
No, sir. Actually, it's not my first deal.
Okay.
It's my first deal since coming across you.
I got you. All right.
Yes, sir.
Get into it. All right. So on this particular deal, he sent me a Instagram. He DM'd me, just sending me a photo where he had made $10,000. So he's here to share that particular story and I guess his actual real estate journey in general. So what I always like to do, Kenneth, is just start from just give us a background of, I guess if you had a 9-to-5 and leading up to getting into real estate investing with obviously an emphasis on wholesaling.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Ty. Really interesting event. What had happened was I was actually working jobs like for the city part-time, kind of like, sitting in the back of the car, doing the paint lines on the street. And it was just like a summer job and so forth. And I noticed that I would always see a lot of We Buy Houses signs, throughout Springfield. And I always wondered what that was, about. And I had a friend of mine that had shared a course with me. I don't know, I'm gonna go way back. But of course, the Carlton Sheets, and I'll touch base on that. But there was a guy back in the day that ended up getting himself in a lot of trouble. His name was William McCorkle. And
remember that?
Yeah. And a friend of mine had that course, and he just said, "Come on, man, come live with me. We can do this course." That was my first introduction to real estate. So I went to go stay with him. He went out and did his thing, but I was still studying, the content that William McCorkle had in his Fortunes of Foreclosure and the whole enchilada course. And it taught us to go to the courthouse and look up, properties that had been in pre-foreclosure for a long period of time. So I found one, and you would never believe this, but the guy whose house we found, the guy ended up on like $3,000 or $4,000 in back taxes and owed like $11,000 on a mortgage, and the ARV on it was about $80,000. So my partner, my friend at the time, said, "Well, I'm going to go back to work." He didn't do any studying or nothing like that. He dropped me back in Springfield. I went, knocked on the man's door, struck a deal with him, and this is going to blow your mind. I ended up getting the house under contract. No, actually, I didn't get the house under contract. What I did was I negotiated numbers with the guy, took the deal. So basically, I was bird dogging to Ron LeGrand's son, who's from Springfield, Ohio.
Oh, wow.
See, this is how close you and I actually are. This is why I said when we talk, you're gonna trip on this.
All right.
So I don't need to say his name, but he was the big We Buy Houses guy in Springfield, and he got this, sharing about his stepdad, Ron LeGrand, and all that stuff. I was like, oh wow, that's cool. So he wrote me. He looked at the house he wrote me a check for $500 at Wendy's or something like that. And he says, I'll give you another 500. He said, go milk another cow. Well, I'm working for a temporary service, basically in the summertime, doing this stuff for the city, burning up. And I just made $500 and I just turned the guy onto a deal. So I was like, I can keep doing this. So that was my first introductory to real estate.
But okay, what time frame? What do you know? What year this was?
This was pre 9/11. So this was probably around 2000.
Okay, it was just before now. Okay, all right. So
yes, sir.
A little more than 20 years ago. Okay, dated this.
Yes,
video.
sir.
Okay. All right. So, So what was next after that? You seen that there was an opportunity. If you can find great real estate deals, you can make money. It was $500, but $500 for basically just a referral is nothing to sneeze at. So,
no.
So what happened then? How did you move forward after that?
Well, that's another interesting story. So what I did was I was, pretty down on some hard times. Life wasn't always the greatest at that point in my life. And at the time I had a girlfriend and had two stepsons. And I said, well, this guy just gave me $500 and then he gave me a little bit more at the closing. And I seen the money that he had coming in from the closing on getting money. And it was like $22,000. I didn't understand where that money came from, but I know I wanted a piece of it. So I went walking around the neighborhoods and I found a house probably about 1.5 miles away. And it said for sale by owner. And the house looked like it was distressed. I called the lady. They were out of town owners. And I asked the lady, would they be willing to do a short-term land contract on the house? Because I didn't have any money. So they said yes. And I went to a guy that I knew that had money.
Let's back up because we're going to assume people know what you mean when you say a short-term land contract. So explain what that is for those.
I basically said, if I give you a little bit of money down, would you let me take over this property or control this property for about 6 to 12 months? And I'll go ahead and I'll cash you out.
Okay. So it's a form of owner financing, short-term owner financing. Basically, I guess, like we say with the land contract, you give them a down payment and you say, I'm going to pay make a balloon payment in 6 to 12 months. Did you have to make any payments per month or they just accepted that down payment?
No, because the house needed work. So in exchange for me, doing the work, obviously I didn't have a monthly payment on it as long as they seen that work was being done to the property.
Okay.
So at that particular time, I went to a guy that was in a different type of lifestyle, but I knew he had some money and he had seen that I was really adamant on, trying to make real estate work. I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with anything other than trying to do real estate. And the guy gave me the $1,000 to put down on the house. He didn't want it in his name. He didn't want that. He said, Kenny, I'm going to give you the money to put down on this house. I'm going to give you the money to fix it up. And when you sell it, I want you to go ahead and then you break me off. And I said, fine. So at that time, I just went and found a bunch of handyman, got the house cleaned up, dolled up, built a porch on it, painted up. And then I went into a local Dollar General store and I was able to piece enough money together to spray paint a sign, $16,000. No, it was $28,000 quick cash. And my payoff was like 16,000 minus the 1,000 that I had put down. That house didn't stay on the market for long at all. And I had weaseled my way in to becoming a mortgage broker at a mortgage company. And I ended up actually mortgage brokering that particular loan out to a lady And this was over, I don't know how many years ago, but they're still living in that house to this day. And I created myself a paycheck like that.
Wow. So just to make sure people follow you, so you found the deal. They wanted $16,000 for with $1,000 down. They needed a lot of work, so you did they agreed to do a land contract, which they were going to get their money, months later in a lump sum, but you had to do work on it. So you knew someone that would fund the deal for you, the $1,000 and the renovations, the amount of renovations that you did on the property, and then you turn around and sold it, you say for $28,000. So do you remember how much money you all had invested in it as far as, putting the work into it?
It wasn't no more than a couple grand. It was some general cleaning up.
I got you.
It wasn't a lot of money at all.
Okay, so basically about 19, we'll say 18, well, we'll just say 19,000 into it. So did you have to get the dude that you borrowed the money from? So he was only really out of $3,000. So what, did you just gave him back his $3,000, or you gave him, double his money, or what?
You ready for this one?
Yeah.
He was on his way to prison.
Oh.
And he told me, he said, hey, he said, I see you made this deal happen, man. He said, I'm proud of you. He said, just keep doing what you're doing, man. You don't owe me the money. He said it was just a blessing to watch you do this and become passionate about real estate, and maybe when, I get back out, we can, touch bases again.
Is he out? Just out of curiosity, did he ever get out?
Yeah, he got out, and I just didn't, my life took off to a whole nother area in life, so I didn't, I just seemed to say, hey, how you doing?
I got you. All right, so you put that actual deal together. So that was like your second deal that you did at the time?
That was actually about my second deal, and then what had happened was I was actually staying with my parents at this particular time. I had split up, with my girlfriend, and I was once again on some rough times, and my father was gravely ill. And I was actually at home late at night, and the infomercials that we come on TV about Carlton Sheets. Well, Ron LeGrand had popped up, and at that time it was John and Greg Rice that was actually doing the cash flow generator that Ron LeGrand was promoting at that particular time. God bless my stepfather's soul. He was in a bad way, and he had actually wrote a bad check for $99. Now, I mean, I hate saying that, but this is how much he had believed in me because of the passion that I had.
Well,
and
let me back up on that deal that you did with the land contract. So you ended up walking away with maybe what, 13, 14,000?
About that $12,000-$13,000.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to make sure we got that in.
Yep.
So I assume, how old were you at the time? You in the 20s? What were you?
Yeah, I was in my mid 20s, about 25.
Okay. So you would have did the same thing I would have done. You blowed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Because you thought that the next one was going to be right around the corner or whatever. So, you just don't know any better. But anyway, you say your dad invested the $99 into buying, I guess, the teaser course. Because I know that's all it was. Just
that's exactly course. What it was.
Yeah. But 99, that's how I got. And I'm not going to take all your stuff, but go ahead though.
No, actually, because I mean, when you was telling the story, I was sitting back and I was looking at the similarities versus the differences. And long story short, I looked at inside the course, and it had some cassette tapes, and in a pamphlet, and it shared about wholesaling and retailing and lease option. And all that stuff, tried the lease option, had the same, almost the same situation jump off, but I had the lady paid me $800 to take her house. I found a tenant buyer to put in the house. So I made some money, but what had happened was after a few payments, those two ended up getting together and they kicked me out of the deal, but I didn't have to take, any money out of my pocket to give back to anybody. I just ended up losing out on the deal because I put the two together, and I was supposed to actually service the debt, while the tenants were in the house. But
So this is after you learned. So this you're are you explaining another deal? Meaning after you
yes, this is
purchased
when I got to, yes,
the $99 course, you found the deal, and you said the lady paid you $800 to take the house, the
yes,
seller.
yeah. The owners gave me $800 to take the house.
All right, but you ended
Yeah,
up losing out because when you tried to put the deal together, um, they ended up pushing you out of deal because I'm assuming you didn't have any paperwork in place.
well, I did have some paperwork in place, but they just basically said, we're going to go ahead and just, kind of, take over this. And, we appreciate you, and I didn't want to cause any waves, and I didn't have the money to be trying to get a big shot lawyer, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
I had made money with,
Lesson learned.
basically a piece of paper and a sign in the yard.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Okay, so let's fast forward. So sounds like you dibbed and dabbed in a few deals. Did you do more stuff then, or did you over the years did you continue to do deals, or did you move away from it for a minute, or what? If you could just give us an idea on the rest of your journey.
Yeah, what had happened was I was able to keep, scale back some of the cash that I'd had, walked around a little bit more, just I don't know if I was walking the dog or whatever, but I end up finding another house right around the corner from my ex-girlfriend's house. And the people were purchasing another property, and they only owed like $16,000 and they wanted out of the house. And what I did was I leveraged some of the money, I didn't squander all of it, but I leveraged some of the money to do some minor repairs and fix it up. Because I was more focused on Robin Thompson, the Queen of Rehab's aspect of Ron LeGrand's course, which was a student of hers. And I'm telling you, I thank you, Robin Thompson, for everything you've done for me in the past. I was more focused on retailing at the time. Wholesaling didn't even compute in my vocabulary. I was like, find them, fix them up real quick, and you could do a simultaneous closing, get in, get out, get a check.
So on that deal, how did you what did you put? How did you, I guess, get control or acquire that deal where you say the people were about to move, they wanted, $15,000-$16,000 for it? That was another land contract, or what was the situation on that?
No. I made sure the title was good. And what I did was we did some paperwork, and I told them their payments were like $300 a month. So I was able to pay the mortgage up for a couple months, got my guys in there, cleaned the property up, spruced it up, painted it up inside and out, had it appraised for like 58, 59,000. Found the gentleman that I ended up actually selling the second house to here the last couple years, and I sold it to him. So my payoff was somewhere around 15, 16, 17,000 or whatever. I got it with no money down, but I paid a couple months payments, found a buyer, did a simultaneous closing, and walked away with the difference.
Was it a cash buyer, or did they have to have a loan?
No, they ended up getting an FHA loan.
Oh, okay. How did, and I know this was years ago, and you could do things back then you can't
Right.
do now. How did you get paid on it, then, being that they used an actual loan on the property, and how much was your actual payday?
I believe on that particular deal, Ty, if I'm not mistaken, we did a back-to-back closing.
Double closing. Yeah.
Yep, we did a back-to-back closing. This when you could actually do that stuff, and like you said, you can't do it any longer. I sold it for 58,000. I think the payoff was like 15, 16,000. I think I ended up, when it was all said and done, recouping my costs, I ended up with somewhere close to like $27,000, $28,000 or something like that.
Okay, after your costs. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So fast forward. You said wholesaling never really computed. You thought the only way to go was fix and flip, the HGTV side of the game, or whatever that most people think about when they think about real estate. So how did even though you were introduced to wholesaling, even with the other techniques, what turned the light bulb on for you as far as wholesaling?
Okay, this happened by accident.
Hmm.
Um,
Like a lot of things
someone
do.
had
I know it did
a
for me.
wholesaler had got in touch with me um, after me driving for dollars, but on the retail side, and I inquired about this house. He wanted 10 grand for, and he told me that he was wholesaling, and I'm like, okay, I've heard of wholesaling and so forth and so on. And um, he introduced me to a gentleman that was a seller, and then the guy ended up disappeared. The wholesaler disappeared, and what had happened was I ended up getting involved with the seller and his wife, and they basically gave me a house because they had owed a couple $1,000s on back taxes, and I really didn't want the house because it was just so tore up and it was in a real rough side of Springfield. And I actually found a guy that said, "Well, I'll just give you $1,000." I was like, "And you can take on the house, and you can take on this and the taxes and all that repairs and all that stuff." So that was my first real introduction to a wholesale deal, and I didn't even really know it was a wholesale deal, but that's basically what had happened.
Yeah, they basically gave you $1,000 to
Get
move
out
out
of
of
the
the
way,
way. Yeah, get
pretty
out of the
much.
way. Yeah, a go away fee as I call it. Okay. All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and get into you. So when did you come across my content? Was it more
Oh man,
recent, or it been some years ago, or what?
no, this has actually been August
Okay. So recent.
2021.
Oh, recent. Okay.
Um, yeah, what had happened was, I was flipping houses for another investor who was a big hitter, a couple of them here in Springfield. And basically, what I would do is I'd find a deal, bring it to him. He cut me out of my wholesale business where if I bought him a deal, he wouldn't give me that 2,000, 3,000 just for bringing him the deal and letting my crew go in and work on the house because I wanted to keep my guys busy at the time because remember I'm in, still in retail mode a little bit.
Yeah.
So, handyman, contractors or whatever have you, I'm piecing, guys together all the time and, things is changing in their lives and having to find guys replacing it started to become like a headache, like, who's going to work on this house? Who's going to work on this house? What electrician is going to be available? This guy, the roofers, they're not able to come. It was always something. So, long story short, I said, man, I was looking at another wholesale guy, and because of the content of me looking at his stuff and other wholesale contents, you popped up. And I kept hearing that, text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. And I got hooked in. And I was like, who is this dude with this hook like this? And I mean, so I was hooked in because of the music and the cartoon. And I was like, this is slick. And then I started going across the testimonials. And I'm gonna tell you the two girls that ended up getting me was what was her name? Emily and
Farsi.
okay,
Yeah, out of Maryland. Yeah, Farsi.
out of
Yeah.
Maryland. Okay, because I said I seen them two, and it was like how you turn $10 into 30,000. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, wholesale. Okay, I've done this a couple of times, but I really don't know the main ingredient of it. And I wasn't too ashamed to say because I flipped a few houses that I knew everything about wholesaling just because I accidentally wholesaled a couple properties. I watched them two, then I got hooked in and watched another one, then I watched another one, and I watched the brother that went from prison to a millionaire, and then it just kept snowballing effect, and then the bandit signs and all this stuff started, coming to fruition. Then I said, you know what? I'm gonna go out and wholesale a house quick. And this was in August.
Mm-hmm.
This was in August. And then I'm just like anybody else, Ty, I'm gonna tell you right now, you probably on a bunch of women's hit list, because I be listening to your stuff 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, you know, and she look over at me and be like, well, I mean, why don't you get you some sleep? You know, I'm tired of hearing that guy's voice, you know. But when I got this last check, she found a way to get herself about $2,000 off of it real fast.
Oh, of course. That's all.
I don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you started listening to my stuff. So whereas it was a little different from you because you have done so many deals on the retail side of it, mistakenly have done some wholesale deals also. And so it really wasn't that big of a deal for you as far as putting a deal together. So you knew it was real. So what did you do? What did you do to find the deal that you made the $10,000 on?
Okay.
How did you find that particular lead?
Okay. So where I live at in Springfield, Ohio, is on the Boulevard, which is a nice, it's a nice little area on the south side of Springfield. And I knew about this house that was a double about 3 blocks away from me.
When
and
you say a double, you mean a duplex?
A duplex, up and down, sir.
Okay, yeah.
It was poorly advertised. It had a sign that was not even, readable, let alone legible. All I could see in the window of the corner of the door was for sale by, it was just said for sale and then a phone number.
Yeah.
And that number set in that particular spot for 5 years.
Wow.
So I've been driving past this house for a while.
All this time.
Yeah. And this is where I'm implementing, the flip man strategy. So what I did was there was a tenant that was living downstairs that was on the porch letting her dog out.
Yeah.
And I, pulled over and I spoke to the lady and I said, is this house still for sale? She said, yes. I said, can you give me the number because it's not very legible? And she gave me the phone number. I called the owner. The owner was wanting $25,000 for the house.
For the duplex. Okay. Wow. Okay.
For the duplex. He was wanting $25,000 for it. Mind you, the outside of the house was already painted up. He had the outside of the house was painted up. He had a new furnace installed in one unit in 2014, one in 2016. All right. So, and it was cash flowing. And I did something that I heard you share. I waited for about a week because the lady that lived downstairs, that was the tenant, was battling cancer. Oh. And I was like, damn, I really don't want to, see this lady out on the street, And then I said, well, you know what, let me go ahead and see what I can make happen because I've started something and I want to finish it. And what I'm going to do is my best to try to help that lady stay in that place. That was my goal. So I talked to the gentleman that owned the property. And like I said, I did a flip man, script. And I said, is $25,000 the best you can do?
Well, actually, you talked about Ron LeGrand earlier. That's where I got that from. Is that the normal question is you already knew the price because you had talked to him, but the way Ron taught it back then, I don't know if he still does that now, but he would say, well, paying all cash and closing quickly, what's the least amount you'll accept for it? And I added as is to it. And regardless of what they say, once you ask that question, paying all cash and closing quickly, what's the least amount you'll accept for it as is? Even if it's a price that'll work for you, you still going to ask them, is that the best you can do? Or whatever. Always. So what was his response?
He went down to $20,000.
Oh wow, that's what's up.
He went from 25 to 20,000. And see, by me kind of helping create the market here in Springfield, I knew what the property was worth. Yeah, ARV. It was worth about 79. So I asked him to meet me the next following day. I believe I got it under contract on the 18th of October.
Mm-hmm.
And I took pictures of the outside, and I did like the ladies from Maryland did. I took pictures of it, put it on Facebook Marketplace. And I'm gonna tell you, Ty, I got over 100 and something messages from that.
Wow.
And I'm not BSing you.
Wow. So you built a buyer's list from that one deal.
Yes, I did. And they're still calling me and inboxing me right now about, have you found anything? And
wow.
And we'll briefly talk about the Dealulator stuff, the prompt stream, everything. But make a long story short, I had set up 4 appointments, and the yard was flooded with people. Cash buyers. I mean, can I go in? Can I go in? And this one guy just stepped up and said, "Can you please just take your sign off the yard and out of the windows?" He said, "I just walked through. I want the house. What do you want for it?" I said, $35,000.
Oh yeah, that's all I was about to ask. What did you market it at? What price did you market it at?
$35,000.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So it was a $15,000 play right there.
Yeah.
The older gentleman, he had owned the house for years. In fact, he had lived there at one point in his time in his life, and his parents had owned it. So he was just a tired, landlord.
Okay.
And I told him I wanted $35,000, and the guy said, "Can we make a deal right now for $30,000?" I said, "Boom!" That was to myself. I said, "It's a $10,000 payday, and I don't have very much time and effort in this." I said, "Let's not get greedy. Let's keep it moving."
Boom. That's what's up. Yeah. Okay. So boom. So you did a contract. Oh well, we go back. So I'm assuming you did a contract with the seller for the 20,000, right?
Yes, sir.
And then you did a contract with your buyer. Did you use my contract, or what contract did you use with the seller?
I wanted to use your contract. At this particular time in the game, I did not have the Dealulator, AKA prompt stream. So my contracts that I used were just like ABC 1, 2, 3, 1-page contract. So I said, let me go ahead and tie this up. And I said, I'm going to reward myself when this deal closes by investing in bandit signs and getting the Dealulator. That was how I was going to spoil myself outside of the $2,000 that my significant other had taken away from me. Hold up. But long story short, I did that, and I went to my title company that I had been used to flipping a lot of houses with the other investors that I was doing business with, and they didn't want to do it, Ty. They didn't want to do a wholesale deal. They didn't want to do.
Oh wow. Okay.
They didn't want to. I said, that's okay. I know another lady that I closed a lot of deals, because there was like 3 title companies that I dealt with in Springfield. The second one that I went to, Ty, she said, "This is all I need." I honored the first contract, the A side. She said, "But this is kind of like what I like to see, the B side of the contracts, when assigning the deal over to the end buyer." So for time's sake, because the buyer had already was ready to go wire the money into the title company's bank account. So I said, I'm going to do it this time. And then I want to speak to her about, your contracts, because the power in that is that I can email someone the contract and they can just DocuSign and get back to me without having to run here, run there, and all that other stuff if it happens to be an out-of-town owner. So there was power in what you were sharing with your contracts.
Well, yeah, I've been giving that contract away for free since I've been putting content out since 2008. Been used all over the country. Question: as far as earnest money, how much earnest money did you give the seller?
$20, because I think I had $100, and it was all $20 bills, and I was kicking myself in the butt because I was thinking to myself, man, I should have went and got change, or a water or something, so I could have gave him $10. My greed glands was kind of like, spurting out, but I gave him the $20, as well as it coincides with cashier's check that I had showed you.
How much earnest money did you get from the cash buyer?
I wanted to get 1,000, but I took 500.
Okay. So you got 500 from the cash buyer. Okay. All right. So how long did it actually take to close it once you had both contracts in place, you figured out who was going to close it?
Closed it on November the 3rd. I got under contract with the seller on the 18th, the 21st on the buyer of October, and closed it on November 3rd.
So what is that? 16 days. So
yes, sir.
16 days.
Yes, sir.
You made 10 big ones to $20, EMD, driving for dollars, $10,000 in 16 days.
Yes, sir.
That's the game.
Yes, sir. And I'm getting ready to do it again. I'm getting ready to go do it again and again and again.
So one other thing, was there any issue as far as showing the property, or did the owner give you access to it, or how did that work?
I immediately got a key from the lady that lived downstairs to have full access. And I'm going to tell you, that first day it was over with. I mean, it was over. I had people coming up. I had realtors who are investors who were mad. In fact, one texted me and was like, I bet you they couldn't close in 3 days like I can. And I'm like, oh, wow. Let me go ahead and put you down on my buyers list. I'll let you know when I get the next one.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that's what's up, man. So, well, Ken, man, I love that journey, man, because that's a different one than normal. You actually encountered Ron LeGrand, you say stepson, right? And,
yes, sir.
Early on in your process or whatever. And that's how I originally got my game. I really hadn't looked at Ron's stuff in years or whatever, but I said, because I actually, just long story short, you talk about those cassette tapes. I got the teaser version. His actual course was $1,500 at the time when I found it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot of money, especially back then.
Yes,
and
sir.
I didn't have it. So I had thought, so I bought they had a condensed version of it for $69.99, about $80 with shipping. And it was in cassette tape form. And all it was just teasers to make you know you need to get that $1,500 course.
Absolutely.
And, because Ron, he'll make, he'll make
already know.
Run
already
through a brick
know.
wall. You know what I'm saying? He's good at explaining, and just making it seem like you're stupid if you're not doing this. And so anyway, I thought about it, and I had said I'll get a second job to come up with that $1,500. But a couple of days later, thought about eBay, did a search on his name, and there were a couple of auctions on his on that same course. And I lost the auction, and back then sellers could email, people that bid it, and we agreed on he told me he would give me a bootleg version of it. And we agreed on $400 for him to send me basically copies of the the CDs. And so, hey, that something didn't get paid. That $400 still was a sacrifice. I'm not telling anyone else to do that by no means. They found, of course, I sell stuff, but hey, the most important, most financially beneficial $400 I've ever spent. I can't even. Oh my God, that has made me so much money. From just real estate in general, as doing deals, the flip man stuff, all of that, it's made me so much money. But again, I said if I ever met Ron, I was going to give him that $1,500. Then somebody said, well, really, you've already paid it back in full because of all the content that you've given away. Somebody brought that to my attention. So, and I had an opportunity to go to, I guess you would call it coaches type thing with him back in the spring. And it just wasn't the timing that he was going to be involved in also. And it just wasn't the right time for me or whatever. So, but yeah, man, I really appreciate you reaching out to me, sharing your journey. Like I said, yours is a little different than a lot of people because you were actually doing deals, but you didn't really pay attention to wholesaling. And like you said, you spent $20, right? You spent $20. We're gonna do this really quick. Your return on investment on the $20 and you made $10,000. The return on the investment was 49,900%.
Good night.
Anything you want to share before we get out of here?
Yeah, real quick. I just want to thank you for being the man that you are and helping the people that you help, that you're reaching out to. You don't even understand how many lives that you are, actually reaching out to and touching. And I want to thank you for bringing on people like Jamil and Renikia. Listen, those are geniuses. Listen, iron sharpens iron. And I sit back and I just watch, the commercial side of this stuff and the things that you're doing and the way that you're helping people and how you're expanding my mind anyway. I can't thank you enough, for what little bit, but still yet a lot, because at the same time, you put so much information out there, but it's still going to be up to the individual to go out there to implement it, and make it happen.
That's what's up, man. It's all about lead generation. There's no magic wand that I'm waving or anyone else is waving. It's all about how many leads you can generate on a daily basis. That's the business.
Yes, sir.
You have to generate a lot normally to get to one deal or whatever. So now, but if you're going to add owner financing to your bag of tricks, then yeah, that's going to open up more opportunities, which you explained several of those deals in the beginning, which I'm glad you did, because that can give people a different way of looking at deals that may not work as a wholesale cash deal as far as the numbers, but could be easily something you can own or finance and do a land contract. And you can wholesale back out those terms if attractive enough. So again, Ken, man, I really appreciate you sharing your time with us. Let you go ahead and get about your day. And as I always like to say, guys, we'll see you on the flip side.
Text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. Text me and I'll text you back. You text me then I'll text you back. Text me then I'll text you back. TikTok, you don't stop. I will help you make your paper stack. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Where you at now? 205-964-5243. Yep. 205-964-5243. Now you know.